In the turbulent landscape of the Middle East, tensions are rising to new heights as Iranian-backed armed groups unleash a wave of attacks across the region. Their main target, American interests in strategic locations like Iraq and Syria, while disrupting global trade through the Red Sea routes. In response to this growing threat, the United States deploys an unprecedented counteroffensive, marking a critical point in the already tense relations between both nations. The Red Sea, a vital maritime artery, is emerging as the epicenter of this escalating conflict, with U.S. forces intensifying their attacks against Iranian-backed militias operating in the region. In a coordinated move, the United States and the United Kingdom launched surgical strikes against facilities controlled by Iran-linked militias in Yemen, responding forcefully to persistent threats against their naval forces and commercial traffic. However, these actions failed to deter the Iran-backed Houthis, who continue their attacks in the Red Sea with increasing audacity. The Houthis, now bolder than ever, direct their fury against American warships and cargo ships in the Red Sea. It is crucial to analyze in detail the latest attack carried out by these groups. According to CENTCOM reports, Houthi militants, backed by Iran, launched 3 anti-ship ballistic missiles from controlled territories in Yemen at the U.S.-flagged and owned container ship MFV Maersk Detroit as it sailed through the Gulf of Aden. The escalation of these types of attacks raises serious concerns about security in the region and the stability of international trade in these strategic waters. Amid the chaos unleashed by the Houthi attacks in Yemen, the narrative intensifies with a crucial episode that highlights the complexity of the situation. The story unfolds with the confrontation between American forces and Houthi rebels, bringing with it a series of events that shape the geopolitical landscape of the region. The scene lights up with the description of a tense moment. A Houthi missile falls dangerously close to an American ship, while 2 others are skillfully shot down by precise RIM 161 missiles fired from the USS Gravely. Despite the successful repulsion of the attacks, the effectiveness of the response sparks panic among the Houthis, highlighting the military prowess of U.S. forces. The story moves to the Maersk Shipping Company statement, which adds layers of detail to the story. 2 U.S.-flagged ships, loaded with military supplies, sail north through the strategic Bab el-Mandeb Strait. However, a nearby explosion alters their plans, causing them to turn around. The U.S. Navy, a fellow traveler, intercepts a hail of projectiles, underscoring the magnitude of the confrontation. The safety of the ships and crew remains intact, thanks to the quick action of the U.S. Navy, which returns them to the Gulf of Aden. Maersk, in its statement, reveals that these vessels, part of the voluntary intermodal maritime transportation and maritime security program with the U.S. government, have the protection of the Navy to traverse the strait, transporting critical cargo from the Departments of U.S. Defense and State. The plot takes a shocking turn when it is revealed that the attacked ships are operated by MK Line, the American subsidiary of Maersk, who announces the suspension of transits in the region until further notice. This decision reflects the immediate consequences of the attacks, as the company evaluates the security of its operations in this volatile area. In a final twist, Houthi military spokesman Yahya Sarria presents his version of events, recounting a prolonged firefight against American warships that culminated in the direct hit of one of them and 2 merchant ships that were forced to retire. This counterpoint provides a more complete look at the narrative, highlighting the palpable tension and diverse perspectives at play. In the scenario of growing tensions, the narrative is woven with events that underline the intensity of the clashes in the region. The plot begins with the Houthis' bold claim that several of their ballistic missiles have hit key targets, defying warships' attempts to intercept them. In a statement, the effectiveness of the attacks is highlighted, although a U.S. official, speaking on condition of anonymity, counters this statement by assuring that no ships, whether war or commercial, were hit. The tension remains palpable as it is revealed that there are no reports of injuries or damage, leaving the real impact of these attacks up in the air. The enigma deepens when attention shifts to the container ships Maersk Detroit and Maersk Chesapeake, which become targets of these attacks. This shift raises the risk of future attacks by the group, raising questions about the security of shipping through the vital Bab el-Mandeb Strait. The response of the United States and the United Kingdom is presented in the account of multiple airstrikes, a joint effort to stop the escalation of Houthi attacks. However, The war of statements continues as the Houthis, who have been attacking ships since November, claim responsibility for the attacks in a pre-recorded statement from their military spokesman. Lieutenant General Yahya Sari, in a defiant promise, announces that the Houthis will persist in their attacks. The story becomes nuanced when Sari links the attacks to Israel's war against Hamas in Gaza, revealing an undercurrent of revenge that has fueled the series of attacks since November. However, the irony and threat are manifested in attacking ships with weak or no ties to Israel, putting shipping on a crucial route for global trade at risk. In response to these attacks, the United States and the United Kingdom launch airstrikes against suspected missile storage and launch sites used by the Houthis. The escalation takes an even more ominous turn when the rebels warn that they will expand their targets to include American and British ships, leaving a subtle but ominous portent of more fighting on the horizon. On the intricate geopolitical chessboard of the Red Sea, a complex plot unfolds, with Qatar emerging as a key player amid the turmoil. The narrative begins with Qatar, one of the world's leading exporters of liquefied natural gas, LNG, warning about the impact of ongoing Houthi attacks on its deliveries. This turn adds an additional nuance to the conflict, affecting not only maritime routes, but also global energy markets. Intriguingly, Qatar, which acts as a mediator between Hamas and Israel, finds itself in a delicate position. Despite being one of the largest exporters of LNG, it has chosen not to attack its own vessels, maintaining its focus on the mediating role. A statement from Qatar Energy, the state producer, ensures the continuity of production and reaffirms the commitment to providing a reliable supply of LNG despite the challenges. The plot expands by revealing that LNG shipments from Qatar are being managed jointly with buyers, exploring alternative routes around the Cape of Good Hope in Africa. This strategic detour adds an element of suspense, showing Qatar's adaptability in the face of adversity. Meanwhile, on the American political scene, a bipartisan group of senators is questioning President Biden's legal authority to authorize attacks against the Houthis in Yemen. The plot turns political, with senators expressing concern about the lack of congressional authorization for military action against the Houthis, despite claims by Iran and the Houthis themselves about escalation. The story takes on an additional dimension as lawmakers in the House of Representatives, from progressives to conservatives, question Biden's authority, reflecting internal political tensions over the military posture. This subplot adds a touch of intrigue and complexity, showing the various perspectives at play. White House Homeland Security spokesman John Kirby enters the scene to defend the authority of the commander-in-chief. This defense adds a layer of tension and anticipation, leaving questions about the balance between presidential authority and the need for congressional approval. In this tapestry of events, the plot unfolds with unexpected twists and a tone that reflects the complexity of the interests at stake, taking the reader on a fascinating journey into the intricate world of international politics and regional disputes.